to the fifth episode of the Happiness Project, and I am your host, Rena Jain. Thank you for tuning in. I want to give you some wonderful news about my podcast. My podcast is now widely available across 8 plus platforms, including Google, Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Radio Public, and many more. And since you guys have been enormously supportive, my podcast has listeners from across the globe. Thank you for making it reach to so many people and so many places. Please keep sharing your learnings and experiences of how my podcast has transformed your life in every little way possible. So, let us move on to the episode today. We are going to be discussing about relationships today and how relationships have evolved over time, from mutually exclusive relationships to open relationships. Just like we as humans evolve, people in relationships also evolve over time in terms of change in values, perspectives, likes, dislikes. Along with these changes, either people grow together or they grow apart. With revolutionary changes in the culture of relationships, one important dynamic that has been introduced is dating. People nowadays have more options than earlier. Dating apps like Hinge and Bumble quite well does the needful and has given us the freedom to choose a potential partner. In earlier times, love was not of utmost importance, as it was said that love would emerge after you're married. However, with the emerging concept of dating, the immense desire to love and most importantly to be loved has taken over. People also nowadays have relationship problems with people they're not really in a relationship with. It has gotten complicated over time, but not to deny, there have also been successful relationships. Honestly, there is no right or wrong here. It's a very individualistic concept of perception. Some relationships last for 2 years and they end in a happy, successful marriage, or some others are together for 8 years and decide to separate. There are multiple factors involved here. Some very common ones like trust issues, change in relationship dynamics, sexual compatibility, or one of them cheats on the other. Someone wants more from life, unhealthy and toxic demands, mental and physical abuse, lying, lack of communication, unrealistic expectations, control issues, etc. This list can simply go on and on. While I was researching on this topic, some recent surveys show surprising facts that most of the people end a relationship nowadays because they want to figure themselves out or they are on a self-love journey. What an established thought process, right? What's wonderful is the realization and acceptance that I may not be perfect, but more importantly, I'm not ready to give or receive this kind of commitment to you right now. Yes, it hurts, but just for a while. Because in the long run, you'll be grateful that this relationship ended. It also gives one an opportunity to look within, to find your comfort by experiencing discomfort, by exploring, traveling, meeting new people. And you know what? Even after all of this, you still won't be sure of what kind of a relationship you want, but you definitely will be very certain of what kind of a relationship you don't want. The reason why so many relationships fail today is because people are broken and still dating. And they are hoping for someone to fix them in a way that they can complete them. However, they fail to understand healing requires isolation, being by yourself, for yourself, because you don't need anyone to heal you. You need you. You have to succeed at being alone and complete, and then look out for someone to share your wholeness with. Finding a better half or being a better half is a myth. You need to be whole, complete, and be your best self. And that's when you know you're ready to be in a relationship with someone else. Isn't that a thought-provoking question to ask yourself? Whether you are in a relationship, married, or not in a relationship, I want you to ask yourself these questions to gain some clarity and understand which areas do you need some improvement in. So, ask yourself, am I ready? And if I am in a relationship, are there any past experiences that are holding myself from experiencing this relationship to the finest? Do I have healthy boundaries where I have my own goals, dreams, passion, or am I very pleasing and compromising to the point where my identity absolutely revolves around my partner? Am I emotionally stable, wherein I can make my own decisions and I can assert my point of views in a healthy manner? Do I love myself enough? Am I full of love to be ready to share this love with someone else? Do I know what I want from this relationship? And most importantly, do I have the time and mental energy to invest in this relationship at this point of time in my life? It's okay to not have all the answers right now, but try and journal your answers as and when you find time. This will help you understand yourself better and know what kind of a life you want to live once you are in a relationship, or if you're already in a relationship. There are conflicts, arguments, difference in opinions, different interests in every relationship. But are you able to effectively get out of this space in a healthy way, or do you struggle to come out of it every time that trigger is being pushed? If yes, then don't you think it's time for you to work on your triggers and strengthen your core beliefs? It doesn't matter if you're 20 or a 40-year-old. Knowing yourself, understanding yourself, and loving yourself is a lifelong process. Let us now understand what exactly does a healthy relationship look like and explore a few wonderful approaches to maintain a balance in your relationships. Look, no relationship is perfect, and if it seems like it is, it's not. Do not judge a book by its cover. Every relationship is entirely different in its own way and has its own strengths and weaknesses, temperament and energy. However, it's significant to draw a healthy boundary wherein you very clearly know that this is what works for me and this is what is not in alignment with who I am or what I want. Know that healthy relationships are always going to bring out the best in you, make you a better person. It's about understanding each other's needs and desires, and most importantly, accepting the person just the way they are, rather than changing them into something that is your ideal of a potential partner. A healthy relationship is when you don't project your fears and insecurities onto your partner and always have this unwavering faith in your partner and simply letting them be the way they have been all their lives. I'm not saying you're always happy in a relationship. There are arguments, fights, different choices, but you always find a way to align things in a way that works for the two of y'all. You feel connected and supported, yet you're whole just by yourself. So, in order to attain a stability in your relationship, there are a few important approaches you need to understand and work towards bettering yourself at it. So the first thing you need to remember is that you need to stop keeping a scorecard every time your partner does something that aggravates negative feelings within you for them. Usually, people tend to fight and argue about incidences that took place months or years ago. You need to understand that it's very important to let go. Now, you're thinking, why is it not healthy? Because you're simply deviating from the current topic of discussion and making the other person feel guilty for something that happened in the past and which has very little control over your present situation. And this in turn leads to proving that I am right and you are wrong. Look, in the initial phase, this is quite natural because you are in the process of getting to know each other. But eventually, when you're in tune with each other's temperaments, I recommend you avoid draining your energy by penetrating into everything that is not right and instead start focusing on everything that is wonderful. Can you now start counting your blessings? Start keeping tabs of everything that is having a positive impact in your relationship. The second most important aspect of relationship that I'm going to discuss is about communication, which many people don't really engage into it or engage a little too much. They can't strike a balance. There are different communication styles that people use in daily lives, from aggressive, passive to assertive. Usually in relationships, people either tend to be passive aggressive or aggressive, where they either are outright and loud or they keep dropping hints for the other person to understand. And oftentimes it gets very ugly. Communication styles are developed by various behavior patterns, and the purpose of communication is to fill the gap that will improve better understanding of each other. Unfortunately, people have got it all wrong by simply using different styles of communication at different situations, which often leads to conflicts and misunderstanding. One of the most effective and healthy communication style is the assertive style of communication. Assertive communication is a wonderful way of communicating, not just in a relationship, but also in general, at your workplace, with your friends and family members. It's extremely significant to adapt an assertive way of communication where you stand up for your personal rights, believe that you have a choice, and know that you don't want to feel a certain way. You also state your feelings very clearly with a sound judgment, also without sounding rude. You end up respecting the other person's feelings and have a congruency between what you feel, what you think, and what you say. And most importantly, you become an active listener, where you listen to the other person without any preconceived notion and biases because you understand that everyone has a story. One of the most effective assertive communication technique is using I statements. I statements focus more on feelings and behaviors rather than thoughts and demands. These statements can develop emotional stability in a relationship. When you're assertive, you use I statements. For example, I really want us to spend time together because we haven't been able to find time for each other in a very long time. Instead of being passive aggressive, where you would say, you don't have time for me, and you have a very different set of priorities in your life. Hear it again and simply understand the difference in the tone of those statements. Once you start using these I statements regularly, you will see a difference in a way that you will be so much more in control of yourself and you will be responsible for what you say and how you want to feel. When you are assertive in your communication, you're not only firm on your thoughts and feelings, but you're also very firm on what you don't want. Always remember that the purpose here is to not be right or wrong. However, it's about finding a way out of something that you're not comfortable with. And finally, stop blaming your partner for your emotions. I have witnessed this in a lot of relationships. Let's say, for example, you've had a very rough day at work and your partner is not being very attentive to you, and you also want to spend time at home and watch a movie with your partner, but your partner already has some plans with their friends. How do you feel? Hurt? Frustrated? Miserable? Ignored? Do you feel like your partner doesn't understand you or is being so hard on you? Do you feel like your partner is not supporting you emotionally? From now on, before lashing out at your partner, ask yourself this question. How can I expect my partner to instinctively be supportive and make me feel better? Is it right of me to give him the responsibility to support me emotionally without me having asked for it, but deep down expecting my partner to understand? It's very easy to blame our partners for our emotional instability. And this is a very good example of a poor personal space and poor boundaries. It's entirely desirable for your partner to express empathy towards you when you've had a rough day. However, if this becomes an expectation where every time you've had a rough day, your partner must be emotionally available, that doesn't do justice to you or your partner. The relationship will eventually turn unpleasant and it will become more of an obligation for your partner to be available for you rather than a choice. And more importantly, this will also lead to you becoming codependent on your partner emotionally, wherein you'll find awfully challenging to manage your emotions in absence of your partner. So what can you do instead? It's important for you to realize that no one else is responsible for your emotions but yourself. So take responsibility for how you feel and do not expect your partner to be available for you all the time. Also know the difference between choice and obligation. For example, I want to be there for you rather than I have to be there for you. Know that you don't choose how you want to feel, but you definitely choose how you want to act on those feelings. I am going to end this episode with a renowned saying by Jim Rohn, who was an American businessman and a motivational speaker. He used to say that the greatest gift you can give to somebody is your own personal development. Rather than saying, I will take care of you and you take care of me, you should start saying, I will take care of me for you if you take care of you for me. Thank you for joining me this week on the Happiness Project. Here's an announcement for you guys. I will be inviting a few guest speakers on my podcast in the upcoming episodes. Next week, we are welcoming a profound guest on my show who will provide us an insight into the relationship between nutrition and mental health. Stay tuned and make sure you never miss a single episode of the show. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for all your support. And if you like this episode, please share it with as many people as you can. Because sometimes all it takes is one push for someone to transform their lives. Let this podcast be that push. Thank you and see you next week.